Hi, subtitle caption here. If you're submitting content to Netflix, it must be accompanied by captions. In this video, we are going to familiarize with Netflix timed text style guide, specifically the English USA guide that will enable you to meet specifications required by Netflix. Let's get started. We start by setting up a sample Netflix profile in a captioning software. For this video, I'll be using Subtitle Edit for illustration. The profile is just a set of requirements that the text has to meet while captioning. You can use any captioning software to modify these settings as well and follow along. This is a sample illustration on how to set up text restriction requirements for Netflix English captions. Single line maximum length should be set at 42. Optimal characters per second should be set at 15. Maximum characters per second should be set at 20. Maximum words per minute should be set at 240. Minimum duration in milliseconds should be set at 833. Maximum duration in milliseconds should be set at 7007. Minimum gap between subtitles in milliseconds should be set at 83. Maximum number of lines should be 2. And you should unbreak subtitles shorter than 43. That's it for the technical specifications. In the next part, we run through slides that include other considerations. In part 2, we start off with how to ensure accuracy of content. Include as much of the original content as possible. You should not simplify or water down the original dialogue. The original audio is only truncated when reading speed and synchronicity are an issue. Always match dubbed English audio to the original audio in terms of speed and timing. Do not paraphrase when editing for reading speed. Instead, favor text reduction, deletion, and condensing. Slang and other dialectal features should be transcribed accurately and authentically. Let's look at captions continuity. Use the single smart character U2026 as opposed to 3 dots or periods in a row to include ellipses. Use an ellipsis to indicate a pause, 2 seconds or more, or if dialogue trails off. Just make sure not to use an ellipsis at the beginning of the second subtitle. Do not use ellipses or dashes when an ongoing sentence is split between 2 or more continuous subtitles. The pause has to be less than 2 seconds. 2 hyphens are used to indicate abrupt interruptions. Use an ellipsis followed by a space when there is a significant pause or hesitation within a subtitle. Use an ellipsis without a space at the start of a subtitle to indicate that a subtitle is starting mid-sentence. This section will cover dates and decade. Dates should always be written in the order in which they are used, that is, as per the audio, but omitting words like the and of, for example, 6th April or April 6th, not the 6th of April. Decades should be written using numerals in the following format. 1960s should be 1960s. 60s should be 60s. Centuries should be written in the following format. 20th century should be 20th century. Do not use 50s, 70s, etc. for ages. That is, prefer I am in my 50s versus I am in my 50s or I am in my 50s. The fourth section is about documentary. For TV or movie clips, all audible lines should be transcribed, if possible. If the audio interferes with the dialogue, please give precedence to most plot pertinent content. Avoid going back and forth between italicized and non-italicized subtitles when the speaker is on and off screen. If the speaker is on camera for at least part of the scene, do not italicize. Leave italics for off-screen narrators. This section explains how to handle dual speakers. Use a hyphen without a space to indicate 2 speakers in one subtitle, with a maximum of 1 speaker per line. When identifiers are needed, use a hyphen without a space with a speaker ID in square brackets. Use a hyphen to indicate speaker and a sound effect if they come from different sources. If the sound effect emanates from the speaker themselves, no hyphens are needed. Use hyphens to distinguish 2 distinct sound effects emanating from different sources. Text in each line in a dual speaker subtitle must be a contained sentence and should not carry into the preceding or subsequent subtitle. Section 6 is about font information. The used font should be white and be able to fit 42 characters across screen. In this section, we look at foreign dialogue. If foreign dialogue is translated, use in language in square brackets, for example, in Spanish. If foreign dialogue is not meant to be understood, use speaking language in square brackets, for example, speaking Spanish. Always research the language being spoken. Speaking foreign language in square brackets should never be used. Accents or dialects require the same treatment. For example, in Spanish accent in square brackets when important to the narrative. Foreign words that are used in a mostly English line of dialogue do not require identifiers, but should be italicized. Always verify spelling, accents, and punctuation, if applicable. Proper names, such as foreign locations or company names, should not be italicized. Familiar foreign words and phrases which are listed in the Merriam-Webster dictionary should not be italicized and should be spelled as shown in the dictionary. In this part, we handle italics. The following instances necessitate italicizing. First, a narration. Second, the voice of a visible character expressing unspoken thoughts or inner monologue. 3. Song lyrics when sung, not quoted, if rights have been granted. 4. Unfamiliar foreign words and phrases which do not appear in the nominated dictionary. 5. Proper names such as locations, vessel names, or company names should not be italicized. Dialogue that is heard through electronic media such as a phone, television, especially if we see the television and hear the audio, computer, loudspeaker, non-sentient robots, robotic voices, or AI, etc. 7. In sections such as a phone conversation where the short changes regularly between speakers, always ensure that segmentation and timing rules are correctly applied so as to ensure italics are used consistently and correctly. 8. Only use italics when the speaker is not in the scenes, not merely off screen, behind a door or out of shot. 9. Titles of books, periodicals, works of art, albums, movies, TV shows, radio shows, video games, etc. For an episode title in a series or song titles, use quotation marks. 9. Titles of books, periodicals, works of art, albums, movies, TV shows, radio shows, video games, etc. For an episode title in a series or song titles, use quotation marks. Finally, only italicize titles, not names. For example, the title of a book, but not the name of a ship. Here are some more considerations about italicizing. In this 9th section, we look at line treatment. The following rules apply for lines. 1. Prefer a bottom-heavy pyramid shape for subtitles when multiple line break options present themselves, but avoid having just one or two words on the top line. 2. Maximum 2 lines. And 3. Text should usually be kept to 1 line unless it exceeds character limitation. When should you break lines? 1. After a punctuation mark. 2. Before conjunctions. And 3. Before prepositions. You should not break a line by separating 1. A noun from an article. 2. A noun from an adjective. 3. A first name from a last name. 4. A verb from a subject pronoun. 5. A prepositional verb from its preposition. And lastly 6. A verb from an auxiliary, reflexive pronoun or negation. This part is on how to caption numbers. From 0 to 10, numbers should be written out. 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. Above 10, numbers should be written numerically. 11, 12, 13, etc. When a number begins a sentence, it should always be spelled out. The following is how you represent times of day. 1. Use numerals when exact times are emphasized. For example, 9:30 a.m. 2. Use lowercase a.m. antemeridian and p.m. postmeridian when mentioned in dialogue. 3. Spell out words or phrases that do not include actual numbers. Half past, quarter of, midnight, noon. And 4. When o'clock is mentioned in dialogue, always spell out the number. 11 o'clock in the morning. Above limitations can be broken due to space limitations or reading speed concerns. This section covers punctuation. 1. Follow US English punctuation norms and standards. 2. Avoid using complex punctuation which could be hard for viewers to follow. For example, avoid using colons and semicolons and instead use clear, simple sentence structures to aid comprehension. 3. Avoid overuse of commas. For example, prefer I love you too rather than I love you too. Also, he told me to rather than he told me to. 4. Double spaces are not permitted. 5. N and M dashes are not permitted. 6. Hash symbols may be used when someone mentions a hashtag. Spell out the word hashtag when used as a verb. 7. Ampersands may be used when part of an initialism such as RNB or BNB. 8. Use exclamation marks only in cases of shouting or surprise. Avoid overusing them. 9. Interrobans may be used in cases of question being emphatically asked in an excited or shocked way or in disbelief. Prefer the format. Question mark followed by an exclamation mark. In this section, we will handle quotations. Quoted words, phrases, and sentences are enclosed in double quotation marks. Single quotation marks enclose quotations or song titles within quotations. Use US English rules. 1. Periods and commas precede closing quotation marks, whether double or single. 2. Colons and semicolons follow closing quotation marks. 3. Quotation marks and exclamation points follow quotation marks unless they belong within the quoted text. If the quote extends beyond more than one subtitle, use an open quote at the beginning of the first subtitle, at the start and end of sentences within the quote, and an end quote at the end of the last subtitle. Song titles should be enclosed in quotation marks. Use quotation marks when a character is seen to be reading aloud. If an on-screen character does air quotes when speaking, please apply quotation marks to the equivalent word in the target language in order to retain creative intent and to help ensure clarity about which word or part of the sentence the air quotes apply to. This section is about reading speed limits. For adult programs, a maximum of 20 characters per second, and for children's programs, a maximum of 17 characters per second. Let's look at how to caption songs. Subtitle all audible song lyrics that do not interfere with dialogue. Lyrics should be transcribed verbatim as per the audio. Use song title identifiers when applicable. Song titles should be in quotation marks. For example, Forever Your Girl, playing. When a dual speaker subtitle appears in a song, for example, when there is a duet, each line of sung text should have a music note at the beginning and end to clearly indicate that both characters are singing. Use an uppercase letter at the beginning of each line, including the first letter of the first word of the second line in a two-line subtitle. A song title can be added as an SDH label when there is room at the start of the song or when lyrics are not being included. Italicize lyrics. Use ellipses when a song continues in the background but is no longer subtitled to give precedence to dialogue. On punctuating songs, Only question marks and exclamation marks should be used at the end of a line. No commas or periods are to be used at the end of a line. Commas can be used within the lyric line if necessary. Song lyrics should be enclosed with a music note at the beginning and the end of each subtitle. Add a space between the music note and the preceding or subsequent text. Album titles should be in italics. Song titles should be in quotation marks. In this final section, we handle speaker identification and sound effects. Use brackets to enclose speaker IDs or sound effects. Use all lowercase except for proper nouns. Ensure US English vocabulary and grammar are used in SDH labels for US English SDH files. Be detailed and descriptive. Use adverbs where appropriate when describing sounds and music. Describe voices, speed of speech, volume of sound. Describe the sounds and audio as opposed to visual elements or actions. Only use speaker IDs or sound effects when they cannot be visually identified. When a speaker ID is required for a character who has yet to be identified by name, use man in brackets or woman in brackets, or male voice in brackets or female voice in brackets, so as not to provide information that is not yet present in the narrative. If the same identifier is used multiple times in one scene, numbers should be added to distinguish them. For example, man 1 in brackets. Plot pertinent sounds should always be included unless inferred by the visuals. Use a generic ID to indicate and describe ambient music. For example, rock music playing over stereo. When a name is included in a speaker ID, favor the name which is used in the content or which appears in the speaker's name caption. If the full name cannot be included due to space or time constraints, generally prefer using first names. Use objective descriptions that describe genre and mood identifiers for atmospheric non-lyrical music. For example, menacing electronic music plays. Speaker IDs and the corresponding dialogue should ideally be on the same line. When describing hesitations and nervousness, avoid using labels such as stutters, stuttering, stammers, and stammering, unless the speaker in question has a stutter or stammer. Instead, represent hesitations in the transcription, for example, she said no, or using sound labels such as hesitates or spluttering, for example. Sound effects should be plot pertinent. Never italicize speaker IDs or sound effects even when the spoken information is italicized, such as in a voiceover. Now you can be confident that your content won't be rejected for not meeting Netflix captions requirements. Kindly consider subscribing to help the channel grow and reach more people. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.